This is Kitten Features, and you're listening to Show X Live with Ken in his student accommodation all the way in Scotland, and Wade in his white windowless van? Uh-oh, I better get out of here. Enjoy the show!
Hey everybody, and welcome to Show X on VTWProductions.com. Listening live at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT on this, what are we at today? Look at the 7th of October, 2018. So welcome to the show, everybody. How are you doing today, Ken?
I'm good, my man. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing well, outstanding. All right, so I'm going to kick things off. Hopefully the music wasn't too bad in the background as we were trying to get things sorted for the show to start. Admittedly, it seems as though I can only run so much on the computer at once, and my CPU is all kinds of angry at me for trying to run everything. You know, gaming and show and all that at once. I guess there might be limits. I don't know. So, anyhow, we're going to get things kicked off here with a little bit of
functional deviations.
Starting off to say, what have you been up to this weekend?
Well, this week itself has been, to be honest, I'm in the last year, in the last 7 months of my PhD. So most of my weeks are usually just, I've done a lot of work, which is good. So those who have spoken to me in the past week know that I got the phone call back from the company the university that I interviewed with last week, and I did not get the job, sadly, which is an utter shame. I was really quite excited for it, and it would have been a fantastic opportunity for my career and stuff, and that would have been great. And so it's a shame that I didn't get it. However, they were very kind enough to actually call me to tell me I didn't get the job, because a lot of companies don't do that, so I really appreciate that. And they called to give me feedback, but the feedback was pretty much, yeah, you pretty much met the job perfectly, but you're doing your PhD still. So and we want somebody to start as soon as possible and not be distracted in their hire an employee who fine well is going to be doing 2 full-time jobs is a pretty big ask. So,
yeah, no, that does make sense, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, so I understand it. I just don't.
It doesn't make you feel good.
I wish. Yeah, I know they're doing it out of consideration for me. I just wish they considered me a little less. But no, I can see that kindness. And hey, in a way, I can't be too sad because can you imagine getting a interview feedback that's literally you did everything fine. Don't worry, you did nothing wrong. You did everything in your power to get this job, but you still didn't get it. So don't feel bad.
I mean, it's a good thing. Yeah, that's a good thing. It's unfortunate because it's not the outcome you were hoping for. And so that's never fun, but I do understand. So, yeah. Yeah.
So it is what it is. So that was a thing. I've been doing a lot of boring housework, which is not really worth talking about. Oh, it's my birthday in
couple days? Because I think Copy mentioned it last week, saying that it is time for us to keep on the watch for celebrating for you.
Oh, she's so naughty, keeping an eye on these things. So that's going to be in 5 days' time. I'm looking forward to celebrating. I've got Kitten asked me, what do you want to do for your birthday? And I always feel such pressure. I don't know why. I always struggle to plan what to do for my birthday. Because in one way, I want it to be just quiet and do nothing.
Yep.
And I guess the other hand, it's because if I organize anything, I worry that it's not going to be, birthday worthy, like a once a year event type thing. So I feel like if I don't make an effort, then I can't be disappointed by it, sort of thing. And it's worked well in the past. So I was tempted by that, but after some goading from Kitten, I have now made a little plan, and it's a mix of boring things and things I've wanted to do for a while, and doing things with the dogs, and it's just a mix. It's a mix of different things we're going to be doing.
Well, I mean, it should be for you. It should be doing what you want to do.
Well, yeah, but there's a few things that, how if you win $1,000, how you can think to yourself, yeah, I'm going to go spend this on games and on fun, go drinking with my friends or something like that, right? You can spend on fun stuff. That's an absolutely acceptable thing to do. But you can also think to yourself, I could be sensible with this money, and it would be a huge weight off my shoulders to get these things that I'm worried about financially off my shoulders. and that's just as equally enjoyable because then I'm not worried about those things, right? Like it's not a bad thing to do that, and I kind of feel that with my birthday. I've got the day to myself. I've already said I'm not going to be doing work on this day, which is in itself its own treat.
Okay.
So what I want to do is some really boring stuff like catch up with the laundry. Because I've not had a chance to otherwise, and that's kind of nice to me. That'd be a load off my shoulders, and that'd be a treat in itself. It's super boring, but that's one of the things I really want to do. I want to pick up all the giant. We've got the 2 laundry baskets, and they're both completely full right now. We're on the verge of needing to buy new clothes because we need to wash clothes. It's not good. It's just we're both so busy just now. So I for the first thing I've been on the schedule is I want to just go do some laundry. I just want to get it all done. Just take the whole thing down to one of the like local laundry places, pile it into like 3 machines, take the dogs for a walk, come back, pile it into the dryers, take the dogs for another walk, and then just have it all done. It'll be like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and that'll be done. It'll be a load off my mind, and a load of laundry as well. So that's kind of one of the things I want to do. I also want to go out for dinner, and I want to do another couple. Like I want to end the day with gaming, and I want to go out for drinks in Glasgow. Maybe I don't know. I've got a few things that are maybes. So I'll do something fun anyway. But I'm also going to do some things that just make the most of having free time. So that'll be nice.
That is nice. I mean, it's. Yeah. I do believe you should be able to just enjoy yourself and relax. It's always a good thing. It is entertaining to me that part of what you want to do is essentially get chores done. Like, yay! That sounds so fun.
Well, it's not fun, but it'll help me relax. And being relaxed on your birthday is important, I would say.
I agree. I agree. It is. It's just it's caught me off guard, I guess, in the sense that I was just like, I guess that's what you could do.
Yeah, it's a little common. I do realize this. So yeah, that's the main thing that I've been up to is just getting ready for my birthday next week and that stuff. I also been planning Kitten's birthday, which is in December. And that's been fun. I've got a plan set in stone now, and I've started booking things and such. And I can't say any details in case she's listening in.
Fair.
But that's going on. Also, my in-laws came to visit Scotland yesterday.
Oh, nice.
They dropped by Edinburgh, so we went out and we had lunch together, went for a walk around the town, and just chatted and caught up a little bit. I say in-laws, my mother-in-law and plus children. My father-in-law sadly couldn't make it. So. And then also the grandparent-in-laws. I don't know how to say that one, but there we go.
That works.
Yep. So that's been most of my week in non-geek. I'm afraid it's been extremely exciting. I had one incident with a student actually. I had a student come up to me after a class this week, and she said to me, "Hey, did you do module code? Did you do CSU 9B1 last year?" And I said, "Yeah, I did a few lectures for them." She's like, "I'll never forget what you said about vinyls," and I was like,
"What?
What did I say about vinyls?" She's like, "You don't remember?" I was like, "Well, most of the times when I'm asked to do a lecture, it's usually like last minute, the night before, hey, can you cover this for me? I'm sick kind of thing." So I'm not exactly memorized the lectures. I couldn't tell you what was said in it, no. And she was like, "Oh, well, I'll remember it forever." And I was like, "What is it?" She's like, "I got to run this class, so I've been told that apparently I said something memorable,
wonderful,
or
yeah,
interesting. I can't for the life of me remember it. I mean, what's the point in being quotable if you can't remember your own quotes?"
Well, I don't know. I at the same time, I will say I have run into situations where how do I say it? People have wanted to quote me before because they've asked me like, "How would you explain this?" And so I start talking and I come up with something, and afterwards they're kind of like, or I'll start talking, and I've often had people stop and kind of say, "Oh, wait, could you say that again? How did you word that? It was really good." And I'll kind of be like, I don't know. I was just saying words. Were you not listening? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? And so, yeah, I've had a few times where I've been, I can, and so I've warned people, I've warned people like, I can do this once. So you better pay attention, or I have no guarantees that you'll get the same answer a second time.
Yeah, I get that. I think we're both quite I think we both have the public speaking gene, right? I think we're both able to do that.
Well, it's a spontaneous thing. It's one of those that if you ask me to speak about something and I know about it, I'll talk. And I react to kind of whoever's around me and what they want to hear. It's like, hey, cool, and we do it. And then after that, I'm done. I've said my piece. Now what? Wait, you want me to repeat that? And the challenge is I could say something like it again, but they've often told me like, no, those exact words. I was like,
yeah, no chance. That ain't happening.
yeah, you had your chance to get those words. Your fault.
Anyway, that's been my week really. So, sir, what have you been up to?
Oh, well, let's see. For me, it's been a busy week for sure. However, not much, what would I say, variety or diversity in it. So my week primarily has existed in doing martial arts stuff all week. I'm tempted to share, but I don't know if I should. So I started my week and training-wise on Tuesday, where I trained my student Hyde, and then Wednesday, did we do normal training? Normally I get together with folks, and I did this time, to do some training on my own material as kind of my review that I do, and this is all like after work each day. Thursday is normally where we'd go and do my training with my instructor to get new material. So that's usually my schedule each week, is like 3 days in a row that I do some level of martial arts training. And then, although this Thursday, because setting up for the weekend, we had a special guest in town, we had Dennis Mahoney here, Shihan Mahoney, who is one of the top belts in our art, in Toshindo at least, as well as very high up in the Bujinkan. And so he was coming in to do a seminar for us. We had an opportunity on Thursday that when he was flying in, that instead of us training, because it was going to be a little later, instead we just showed up kind of, as we say, we broke bread. My instructor's wife made us dinner, and we all sat around and kind of caught up and ended up chatting with Dennis for hours. I think I left after probably like 5 hours of us all sitting around talking and catching up and meeting, which was really cool. I shared a ton of really neat insights and kind of helping prep for the seminar we're going to have, where we were training on both Friday and Saturday. And so that was really cool. And then on Friday, I came and as I was getting ready for the day and trying to work on things, because I'm other things I have to deal with, but I got called up because my instructor was having a private lesson with Shihan Mahoney, and so I got to go and be their punching dummy, so that he was able to demonstrate techniques to my instructor by just, demonstrating them on me.
Nice.
Yes, which
that sounds painful.
Yes. So what ended up occurring for me, unfortunately, is that I got beat on pretty well. Now the nice thing is, I kind of asked for it, and I enjoyed it. It was good, but oh boy, am I feeling it! And hey there, Hando finally showing up in the chat with us. I was wondering where you're at, as well as I wonder if Copy's still around. Unfortunately, when I've watched things on the Twitch stream, it doesn't always show me the accurate numbers in one of my browsers. It doesn't keep up with things. I'm never sure how many people are actively watching. Anyhow. So that training went really cool. We went for about an hour and a half of it, maybe a little more, to get some things for my instructor to be able to work on for his next belt, which meant we were looking at things at a pretty high level of intensity and skill. Things that were very interesting to feel and to experience as I toppled through the air multiple times, but nothing that I believe I could actually do myself, because it is several belts higher than me and years of experience beyond me. But it was really cool to see. I actually was able to take some video to show for my instructor to be able to reference and go back and use it as notes.
Nice.
And as I took the video, I got some other things to talk about with that, but when I got the video, it means I have it, and so I was able to look at it myself, so I also have the notes. But the fun part with that, as I was going through, was actually I kind of wanted to make a video almost of just how many times I got thrown to the mat, And in doing so, like a little checkup, a little check mark, or a little ding every time I did, because between the
you watched Dragon Ball?
Yes,
Abridged.
that's exactly what I was thinking about, the Krillin death, or the Krillin gets pwned. Yeah, I was actually. I was thinking that exact look as I was kind of watching through the video to just, to look again at what happened. And I got thrown a lot, and there was at least one or two that I got slammed hard enough that Shihan Mahoney was actually like, "Oh, Gudu Kemi, good job," because I was able to properly break fall off the technique and keep from getting injured, which is what we do in the training. But it was enough that even he kind of gave me a moment like, "Huh, that was pretty good." Because he slammed me pretty hard. And thank goodness for good mats. So yeah, I got banged around a bunch during that training, and then went up to Boulder, to the Boulder Quest Center, to continue the actual, or to start doing the actual seminar, where we then trained from 6 to 10 for 4 hours. And it was a black belt only class, and so we focused on some pretty high level things, and got thrown around a whole lot more that night. And so did that. By the time got done, in fact, normally after training we'd hang out because we're up in Boulder, a bunch of us together, so we take that opportunity to share either grabbing drinks or dinner or something like that.
But very tired hangout,
Yeah, and to kind of go over what we've experienced. But in this case, it was already so late, everybody just bailed. And unfortunately for my house, it's about an hour-ish drive back to my house from the Quest Center up there. So I didn't get home till late. And then finally I had to take a shower, get cleaned up, and pass out, and was wrecked. But I don't think I got to bed because I also had to export all the video from the seminar. So I didn't get to bed till like 3 in the morning. And then had to get up to get back up there for training starting at noon the next day. And so I was running around all week doing martial arts things, and actually I can tell, because then Saturday we went again for another 4-ish hours, I think, on Saturday. And so hours and hours of doing the martial arts thing this week. And I can feel it throughout my body. I am sore in so many places. Thankfully, nothing that feels broken, but I have like spots on my arm and stuff that I can touch, and it's just like, oh yeah, that's where we were hitting that technique. And I'm actually kind of surprised that I don't see like visible bruising today. I figured it would, normally on my arms I'll get like a welt or something you can kind of see, but I'm doing okay for as much as I can feel it. But that was really cool. So did martial arts stuff. That's mostly what I did. That wasn't, geeky this week. Beyond that, I am today, after the show, heading down south to go to a wedding for a friend. So hopefully that'll be a good time. Unfortunately, I think that'll also keep me out late before going to work tomorrow. So start the work week hopefully not too tired. But I think that's pretty much been it. I'm trying to think. If anything else comes to mind, I might. But that's what's in my head for what's happened that hasn't been geek this week. So yeah. All right. I think what we were talking about, and we had talked about before, although I haven't logged in to check the Gmail yet. I do want to see if we have any emails in. But in the meantime, we were talking about, since as we talk geek and stuff around BTW, one of the things that we've been doing as a group a lot lately has been playing World of Warcraft. And so we had a thought, Ken's thought, that maybe we should dedicate a little bit of specific time for talking about anything we've been doing in WoW over the last week.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because it means that we can increase the community's chance to take part in gaming together, which is good. But it also means that we can talk about news and stuff as well, because there's a lot of stuff coming out week by week. I tend to follow the subreddit, so I not only see the official news come out for World of Warcraft stuff, but I also see a lot of people, the community's views and the likes as well. So what I plan to do in the future is to take a couple of these interesting threads to talk about and mention some of the issues that are being raised, and see if anybody else has similar issues, that type of thing. So it's not, we're not making the show a Warcraft show, but we want to have some Warcraft segment in it. So because it's at the moment it's something that we're all interested in. It may not last forever, but I think it's a good thing for a little while at the very least. plus it's kind of a callback to our roots, which is kind of nice in itself, isn't it?
Well, and that's something because we are playing WoW again now, so there's definitely something we could take a moment to kind of say, hey, what's up? In fact, as we speak, for anyone who is hanging out on Moonguard with us, or at least I am, for the first time, running around the Dark Moon Fair, which was interesting running down to see, and I'm looking at all these different, I guess, carnival games?
Yep. So once upon a time, the Darkmoon Fair was literally a fair that was placed south of Goldshire and a couple of other places, and it was like 6 stalls, and it was quite small, and that was that. Now it's a whole different place that you teleport to, and this way it means that they don't have to have multiple Darkmoon Fairs across Azeroth. It means they only have one Darkmoon Fair and multiple places that you can portal from it to the actual Darkmoon Fair. And Darkmoon Fair is much bigger. It's this whole island now. It's got a bunch of different stalls. Elite Tar and Chieftain, etc. are playing as well at all times, which is pretty cool. There's fishing, there's games, there's awards, there's achievements. There's a lot of people there as well taking part and having fun. And it's a PvP neutral area as well, so there's no fighting, which is probably a good thing. However, remember that, as I always forget, war mode must be turned off if you want to hang out, because two-thirds of the people here have war mode on. War mode off. So only if you want to actually see them, you need to have war mode turned off.
Gotcha.
So I'm sorry we don't have an intro for this section. That's something we have to consider for the future.
Well, I mean, we just discussed it, and we definitely want feedback to see if it's worth our time, if you guys are enjoying or would like to hear more about what we've been doing. And so that's part of it, but we were talking about it, thought it's an opportunity. And like for me, for me right now, I keep trying to shoot myself out of this cannon and not die, to land in the water.
Oh, if you're a demon hunter, you can press space and your wings will come out and you just fly down.
I keep missing it, just barely. Getting closer though.
Well, you're a rogue. You've got reduced fall damage, so your chance of surviving is actually quite high.
Oh no, so I survived. I felt it. But it was more I actually want to hit the target. Trying to play the game. And so
I don't do events. I find them really tedious and dull. But I'm trying to. I one day would like to have all the achievements in the game, right? So I have to put some time into events eventually. But only if I can coerce myself to go and actually do these dull things. I prefer to actually level up and get gear and stuff like that, you know?
Hey. Well, for me, these are my first experiences of probably any of these things. I think I had seen a little bit of Brewfest once when I was on my Tauren way back when. And then maybe, gosh, what was the other one? Because it was anything that was traveling that was down by the actual towns. And so I think I did that once. But that's about it. And so, again, for me, it's more of I just want to see how this works and participate so I can now speak more intelligently, maybe, about
it's good,
the events. Come on.
Nice different experience levels there, you know? It means we have to talk about different things in WoW. That's a good thing.
Oh, hey.
It's a more interesting experience for listeners out there.
It gave me a point. Maybe I did actually get in there. Close enough.
Nice. Also, is it possible to change our from talk show to WoW? So at least during the segment, we can maybe do a screen share or something, and that way we could.
So the challenge is I don't know how quickly that all updates. But could I? Yes. Let's see.
I think it would make pull in more people if they see we're playing WoW and even though it's a talk show, we can change it back to talk show after we're done the segment, right? So if it works, I think it'd be quite neat.
So let's see. One of the things I can do is I can go like this and show people what I'm doing on the screen right now, for better or worse. They see that, and then yes, I will change that to WoW for now, and we'll see what that does for everyone. As I try, basically, to just shoot myself out of the cannon. It's pretty much what I've been doing.
I have been fishing.
But yeah, so I'm checking this out. Also, in my trek forward for things, and for people to see, my level now 32 Assassination Rogue, as I slowly have been leveling up, even in this world of I should just be able to say hello and level up in current WoW, I believe. But it's right. It is significantly faster than it used to be. I'll put it that way. And so
You say that there's actually been so in the last expansion, and yeah, Copy says in the guild chat, you won that Violet Proto Drake for getting all the events done, and I do eventually. It seems like a hell of a lot of effort over a year to do that just to get a single mount though.
oh, she's got it.
Yeah, I know she does. I'm so jealous. What was I saying? I totally forgot what I was saying. I got distracted and forgot everything I was talking about. Was I saying what I'm up to? I can't even remember.
Well, yeah. So, we were just gonna talk about the game itself, and so, one of my friends just messaged me and said, "We're at Pumpkin Chunkin. You doing this too?" That's funny.
What's that?
Let's see. I'm telling him I'm doing the show. But Pumpkin Chunkin.
How's that placed into the real world?
Real world, it'd actually be great. It's kind of what I'm doing with myself right now. No, Pumpkin Chunking. It's a competition done where essentially groups, really engineering types for the most part, although amateurs do it as well. They put together these contraptions to essentially launch a gourd, a pumpkin, as far as they can. And so that's something that it's an interesting concept. But there's awards and stuff for seeing how far you can basically throw a pumpkin. And normally, like the ones that are famous are straight catapults they do. The ones that tend to do really well, though, are either trebuchet types or trebuchets and air cannons. Tend to be the ones that do the best at actually shooting pumpkins long distances. And I forget how far they can actually get up to. It's really, really far. And I don't know what awards they get for it, but other than bragging rights and such like that. But it is, to me, I think, an interesting little thing to see out there. I've never witnessed it in person. I've only ever seen videos about it. And I know where it takes place is not actually that far from my house. It's maybe like 10 minutes from my house that they do it. So it's just kind of entertaining that one of my friends is like, yeah, we're out here watching them shoot pumpkins. And it's basically part of the festivities of getting ready for harvest season, or for us here in the United States, Thanksgiving, or fall festival, really, for others in the world. So that's what we equate it to. So I'm figuring something out here with the shooting myself, that there's the little timer for how long the wings last, and I feel like if I hit my number for releasing them based on that number, I should be able to do this every time. But I'm not sure. Anyhow. Back. Are you still there, sir, or something die in the process? I see your face, but I don't see it moving. I still see my mic bouncing, so that's at least happening. Are you still there, Ken?
Okay, now I can hear you, but now you're still roboty, but less roboty this time.
Weird. So for me, it completely stopped for you for a minute.
Yeah, now you're just the standard robot where I think a reset would fix it.
Okay, hopefully that helps.
There we go. That's a fixed.
All right.
Okay, so we're talking about WoW and Dark and Fair. What have you been doing outside of that? You've been leveling a single character, right? Have you been playing anything else, or just one?
Nope,
character?
just my one character. I wanted to try to keep up enough because, again, I'm trying to focus on lore this time. And so, to talk about kind of our experiences. So I've been leveling on my own whenever it hasn't been after the show. After the show, I've normally been doing leveling with the group. Now, today won't be able to do so much because I have to get ready to go to the wedding. Although I might be able to play for a little bit. We'll see. Well, maybe a dungeon or so, but we'll see. So, little things of note for me is that I'm actually pretty, what do I want to say? I'm happy with, surprised with. I think it's good. The Dungeon Finder kind of portion of the game now, because it has allowed us to, when we are hanging out, to more easily, just find something to do together, which I think is pretty cool. And so that's something that I'm still getting used to, trying to understand it as a whole, but I think is pretty cool. Because so far we've been able to just say, all right, everybody get together, let's go run this dungeon. And because you just have to, basically group together, once the dungeon's found and it gets a full party, you get to teleport right there. It just takes you right to the beginning of the dungeon. which is
That's that.
very
Yep.
convenient. You don't have to actually travel and get everyone together like you have in the past. And so that's actually pretty slick. It's interesting, good or bad, how because they had the Finder, and I'd love to hear your opinion on it, Ken, as to the roles that you have to sign up for.
Mhm.
And actually, could you explain that a bit? I'm sure everyone else knows better than I. I've just kind of been experiencing it, but...
It's fairly simple. Basically, well, in any dungeon, if you're doing it manually without the Finder, you can have any kind of setup you want. You can have 5 tanks, 5 damage dealers, 5 healers, it's up to you, or any mix thereof. Or less people if you really want to. However, there's a rare just spawned called the Death Metal Knight. I don't know what that is.
What? Death Metal Knight?
Yeah,
That's funny.
One of my add-ons just told me that one's just spawned somewhere. I'm guessing it's near the Elite Oratorium Chieftain. I don't know. You can do whatever you want if you're doing it manually. However, in the actual group finder itself, there are certain requirements of what you must do. You must have 1 tank, you must have 1 healer, and you must have 3 DPS before the group is formed. Now, that's generally good. It has ups and downs. It means that you've got a fairly good group composition. It used to be back in Classic, you maybe have an off tank as well, so 2 people could have tank specs and they'd both tank. And you used to have maybe 2 supports as well, which is a bit more rare. But nowadays that just doesn't really happen. But it makes sense because that's pretty much what the dungeons are made for. They expect you to have 1 person taking all the damage, a healer to heal that 1 person, and the healer also keeps everybody else up who accidentally steps in things or gets hit by some weird tactic, by a boss or whatever. So it's pretty useful, generally speaking. So the major downside with the Dungeon Finder is that it means that people absolutely have to wait on a tank and a healer. Now, most people, in fact, every single class out there does have a DPS spec to it. So if you take any class and you do every single role that class allows, like say you're a paladin, that would be tanking, DPS, and healing, or say you chose rogue, that would just be DPS. It means that on average, more people are free to do DPS than they are to do tanking and healing, and that's already just assuming that everybody's happy to do any of the specs. Whereas in reality, a lot of people are like, I want to be a warrior, but I want to hold 2 big swords and do damage, and I don't want to tank. Or I want to be a priest, but I want to be an evil shadow priest, and I want to do damage that way. I don't want to heal, and so on. So the number of people who want to be healers are reduced. And what I found, I think is generally agreed upon, what people really don't want to do is tank, especially the most recent expansion for a variety of reasons, which we can maybe get into. Tanking is not so good this expansion. It's quite difficult, actually.
Okay.
So getting a group together with a tank and a healer is really difficult, especially if you're DPS. But it also means if you are a tank, as soon as you enter the Dungeon Finder, you can instantly get a group. Instantly. It's just amazing if you're a tank. It's so useful. If you're a healer, it's somewhere in the middle usually. And so because we're playing as a group, it's really great. We always have a tank, we always have a healer, and we usually have a couple of DPS. And that means that we find the last person to join our group almost instantaneously.
Yeah, for us, when we're doing it with VTW side.
Exactly, and that's one of the big benefits of playing in a group.
Well,
so Dungeon Finder in general is good because it means you get a group way faster than, even with these downsides, it's still way faster than it used to be. Back in the day, it was a case of, you had to get 5 people by talking in chat. Once you got the 5 people who are interested, you had to make sure they had the right gear on, they're willing to be tank and healer and so on, whatever else, and they're willing to travel to the dungeon entrance. That takes time, right? That's not an easy thing. That takes time, and so on. And so it's an utter pain in the butt to get all sorted. But now you just click a button, and if everybody's free and available, you all get teleported to the right place, and it's just done. And it's so much better.
So why do you assume or that the developers are kind of forcing that mix of people assigning to roles based on spec to have a tank, a healer, and 3 DPS versus allowing people to do things a little different?
Well, one thing is that all the specs and all the classes are tailored for those 3 roles, right? I mean, if you do any kind of damage, which is important, if you think about it, right? If you think about the idea of a fight, and you think of the real world, think of the army, think of the navy. You got to think about defense. You got to think about being aggressive. You also got to think about the support lines. And support doesn't just mean healing in the real world, But that's the same as in the game. Support doesn't just mean heals. For example, if you play Discipline Priest, you don't actually heal all that much until after a fight. Your speciality is not actually healing, even though you are dubbed the healer. Your speciality is actually in shielding. So you shield people from damage in the first place. And you actually kind of struggle to heal people if they lose more than damage that you can mitigate. And also, as a discipline healer, the healing that you do massively in the middle of fights is not actually from healing directly. You actually have to sort of shield somebody first. They get a little tag on them that says, for 10 seconds, this effect occurs. And the effect is that whenever you, as the priest, damage an enemy, a small percentage of the damage heals all the people who've been tagged. So as a healer, you're actually a damage dealer. You don't do that much damage compared to like a pure spec damage dealer, but unlike any other healer, you actually do a fair bit of damage. But it also has the downside of you don't do as much healing. So there are some middle ground specs out there. Just like some tanks are better at certain things than others. I mean, I know Paladin tanks versus Guardian Druids versus Blood Spec Death Knights have different abilities in terms of sustainability, single target focus, or AoE ability to handle groups, etc. Or in the case of Protection Warrior, you can have big shoulders, and that's about the only advantage to being a Protection Warrior at the moment. So it's quite a lot of there's quite a lot of intricacy with it, but I think that there's a lot of other games out there that do have a support role that, for example, will only do things like buff people, or will only do things like hinder the enemy, not actually damage them, not actually healing, but doing things like slowing them or stunning them and that kind of thing. But that's inbuilt into all the classes already, so there could be a dedicated spec, and I would argue it'd be fun actually. But I think that it's just a simplification and not a necessarily realistic encapsulation of every single role. Because as a healer, you don't really just heal. As a tank, you don't really just tank. You actually do damage as well, and so on. Yeah. And there's a lot of tanks who heal themselves as well. And as a DPS, you often do a lot of things like interrupting the targets, or sapping the enemies, or polymorphing, crowd control, that type of thing. So there is a bit more complexity to each class and to each spec as well. But I think the developers had these 3 specs out because it just makes it easier to have a dungeon experience that is generally going to work, which is what makes people happy, right?
And that does make sense. I mean, it does fit the kind of traditional how they envision the game to be played. So it makes sense. I was just kind of curious because I know I've enjoyed in different times trying to do things very different depending on what it is that we're doing, kind of thing. And so for me, I mean, it does make sense. But I was kind of curious your thoughts on it and kind of, whether you think it's a good, bad thing. Because I know the challenge we've run into a few times of actually trying to fulfill one of those groups and get enough people there to do it.
I remember spending hours back in the day trying to get that sort of stuff sorted, man. That took freaking forever. It was really difficult.
So how does it work, or does it work similar to that? Because this is me learning now as I've come back to the game, trying to learn and understand more. How does it work then for Raid Finder?
Raid Finder is pretty much the exact same. So you'll have 10 or 25 people raid, and basically there's a set number of tanks and healers that are set by default depending on the raid. So if you want to do, I don't even know the name of the raids right now because I'm nowhere near that level yet, or in terms, even my max level isn't near that level in terms of item level. But say back in the day you were trying to organize, you're trying to fight Nizoth or something, right? One of these old bosses, and you're trying to get a group together. It'll say something like, "Oh, well, this specific raid requires 2 tanks, 5 healers, and 20 DPS," and that'd be pretty common. And generally, what would happen is whoever's got the better item level amongst the 2 tanks will be the main tank. Another one will be the off tank, and then the healers will decide, usually depending on their class and specializations, who will focus on the tanks and who will focus on healing the raid. And then DPS are all just pretty much there to do DPS. So you just assume that they know the tactics to stay out of fire and stuff, and hope that's all. Generally speaking, if you're playing the game and you're playing DPS, playing dungeons is a case of just trying to beat the meters and trying to be the best. Whereas tank and healer is trying to actually, it's more of a complex and difficult role, and a lot more responsibility. You can get called out a lot more for doing wrong as a tank and healer. But that's how it works in raids.
Okay. So good. It's interesting. That's what I was curious. Again, I've only just started playing these things or kind of figuring it out. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So that's most of it. It's also the same with Battlegrounds. There's a set number of people supposed to join. So you need to make sure that you're the right spec. And if you really want to get a quick dungeon or a quick battleground, you set the specs to as many as possible and be willing to fill any role. Yeah, I guess it's the same as League of Legends in that sense, right? League of Legends has the same thing, where if you want to play, like, you have to have certain roles doing certain lanes. That's just the way the meta game is set up. And you can do alternatively if you want to, but it's just more of a pain.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, and I guess I was just kind of curious because I played other games, D&D games, stuff like that in the past that have where I actually enjoyed beating things in ways that weren't like normal, doing things my own way. I always thought that was kind of fun. Mm-hmm. And so I like it when something gives you the opportunity to do it in your own creative way versus having to be forced to follow a certain formula. That's just me.
Sure.
But
that's the thing. I understand for things like Skyrim, they'll let you do that, whereas a single player and they can do anything they want. But when there's so many millions of players interacting with each other and having people having their own unique situations, etc., can make the game really broken and just not fun for everybody.
Well, and I do like at least this way you know what you're going into. It seems like. So that's pretty cool. Okay, that makes sense. Cool. So other than that, let's see. What are we trying to accomplish now in the Dark Moon? So I just did the shooting range, and I rode the merry-go-round. Which at least those, it's funny because the merry-go-round part where you're just spending points, but it apparently gives you a 10% reputation and experience increase for an hour.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It's actually
that's really good, actually.
A buff for riding it, which is kind of cool. So it's just interesting. Yeah, it's interesting the little things that go on in here extra as I'm kind of looking at various aspects of what's going on at the fair. I love the aesthetic to it, actually. That's one of the things I will mention, is that the actual look and feel, and I know I'm so behind in the times, everyone knows this, because as you said before, the fair used to take place kind of by some of the big cities, or didn't it, was it one that used to travel around?
Yeah, so you could get outside Thunderblood, you could get outside Storm. I think there was a Horde and Alliance version. I think that was kind of the only thing really. Otherwise, it was just a case of...
But even then, I thought it traveled between some of the cities, because I thought on the Horde side, I remember it going by Torren Mill, but I thought it also would go outside of Orgrimmar, somewhere else.
I don't know if it traveled. I think it may have just been in multiple places at one time. I'm not sure, though. I really don't know.
Yeah, it might have been everywhere. I'm not sure. I kind of remember it being around. That's kind of, I guess, petting zoo? I'm not sure. Looking at all these creatures that are hanging out.
It might be the Battle Pet area.
No, not the Battle Pet. It's actually like pens of animals. Down by the pier or the docks. That's just, again, various things I'm looking at here that are kind of neat to see. Yeah, I am curious to do the Battle Pets. But now that it's not outside of towns anymore, but in a single instance, they were able to expand it into this massive thing, it looks like. Although it also
makes sense. I think it was one of the expansions actually came out with that. And I think it makes a lot of sense because over the years, the events have been here since basically the beginning of the game, right? Some of the events. And some of them are being very, very dull and basic, so they need to expand along with the game. And I think that's one of the things they do in the expansions more than anything. They make the games better over time.
Oh yeah, no, it's old. Well, and it gives credit to the developers that they expanded not just, core game itself, but also some of the side things like the actual events, which is pretty cool. So that is something that I will give them credit for. That Blizzard is a big company. They do a lot of effort, and to do something like this that actually takes it a step further across the board, I think is pretty cool. So I'm giving them credit. I think it is due. And so that's kind of neat. Now, unfortunately, like I said, all I have to compare it against is that little bit of experience I had before when I had played it. And so it's, I don't know a whole lot about it, but that's partially why talking to you guys and actually learning and hearing about it's pretty cool. What else have I been doing? So currently, my character at least has been hanging out in Ashenvale for the most part, because I am just kind of taking the normal Alliance path from the Night Elf side. And I think is it still true for the most part in WoW, do you think, that each race or each, Horde and Alliance each has essentially I would say 2 main tracks for leveling from low level up. I mean, once you get to mid-level and higher, you can kind of branch out and go wherever you want. But it seemed like when I had played a little bit of multiple races that they all had their starting area, but then they would each kind of come together around level 20, depending on which continent you started on.
No, because now they've changed it so drastically with I don't know, the expansive bounds for levels. It used to be that, don't go into the barns was something like 10 to 30, and then everywhere else was like a 5-level gap difference. But if you even press M and hover over the different areas now, like Fellwood is 40 to 60, Darkshore is 10 to 60, Winter Springs 40 to 60, Ashenville's 15 to 60. I mean, really, if you want to, you can do any part of any continent, any of Eastern Kingdoms or Kalimdor, I should say.
Yeah.
Leveling up, or you could do nothing and just do dungeons if you really want to, or you can just do PvP if you want to, or you can just do pet battles and level up that way.
Wow.
It makes sense. There's a lot of achievements in there that need. So I think it's a good idea that if you find one class quite hard to play, but you're trying to get a max level out of every class or something, that you just do pet battles on it. Why not, right?
I can see that. It's especially if you're looking to do certain achievements, it kind of makes sense because some of them are perhaps tedious if you're going back to areas that you far out leveled, at least in the old days. And so to start another tune and kind of focus on different tracks so you can get all of the achievements as a account versus a character, I think you could do a lot of things. Because right now, the achievements, are they per account or per character? Or are there a split or combination between the two?
It's a combination. So basically, some achievements are going to be based on account-wide. So, for example, if you one of the achievements is get a level 60 character, that's account-wide. You've done that now.
Okay.
But when it comes to, for example, explore Ashenvale, right?
Yeah.
That's a character. That's per character basis. So you can unlock the same achievements multiple times as well across different characters, even if they're account-wide. But when you press Y and look at your achievement points are based on overall, not just one thing.
Okay. Well, that's something because I have achievements, obviously, that have stuck around since some of my old characters such, but the other thing is I believe they've continued to add achievements. And so I've done some things now on this account where I've gotten achievements where it's like, I've done that before, but I don't think they were tracking back in the day for certain things. So that's
plus some achievements have been removed because the content doesn't exist anymore as well. So you might have some achievements there that, like, for example, the people who have some classic PvP titles that just literally do not exist anymore. Like if you have Scout or Knight or anything like that, you can't get them anymore. And that's pretty cool if you have that, right?
I am actually happy whenever things get basically moved beyond to the point where it at least shows that, yep, I did this back in the day. It's legacy.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you some kind of pride in being an old school player. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's the truth.
Yeah, well, and it's something that I wish more games were a little more honest about. I mean, I don't know if WoW did it intentionally as the way to say we're just not going to have these anymore, or they just changed the game and said, oh well. Because other games like League of Legends, the other one that I still play on occasion, I have complained multiple times that they used to have certain things in the game, specifically skins, that were only available if you did very specific things. And for me, it was mostly my Grey Warwick skin that I earned back in the day for getting more than, 50 people to join playing the game and get past level 10 under
That's a big thing.
Under my thing. Well, because I ended up doing, 505 accounts, I think, back in the day when I was doing it. And I was quite proud of that people listened enough when we were doing WoW Radio that they all jumped on League of Legends at my recommendation. And so I was very happy to get the Grey Warwick skin, and in addition, whenever I'd play and get Warwick, I would throw that skin on, and almost every time people would kind of freak out, like, holy cow, what's that skin? How'd you get that?
Yeah, back then skins in general were all known, right? There were so few champions and so few skins.
Yep.
That having one that was unknown was crazy. Whereas now I think people don't notice because there's so many you don't know.
So there's two sides of that. Now, there's so many different skins out there and characters that I think people wouldn't necessarily recognize that specific skin as being something unique, as well as because some of the newer skins are so flashy by comparison. But the other piece of it is they changed it so that you no longer needed to do the recruiter friend to do it. or at least not that many. I think if it was still a reward, it was much smaller after that. And if it's not, I'm pretty sure what they did is they just made it so that you could go buy it. Kind of like how I still have King Rammus skin from being in the beta, things like that. And unfortunately, because they've been doing so many things to try to raise money, they've essentially opened it up that anybody can have pieces of stuff and anybody can get it, which really annoys me. Because
Where's the fun in that?
Well, it's where it doesn't make it unique and special. Because it used to be actually a big deal to have that skin. And not just because I sent you more money. So that, to me, is one of the things I am disappointed about how other groups and games have done it. And so I do like it when... Well, and even in WoW, right? Some of the things they've done where they've had the world events, that they happened. That's in the past. Sorry.
Well, they have that with a lot of the pre-expansion stuff. Like, I missed out on a lot of pre-expansion stuff for multiple expansions because I tend to wait until the expansion comes out before purchasing the game.
Well, that makes sense. Well, but even
when
when
you have to subscribe just like a month beforehand, so they get ready for it and take part in the stuff. Like when Arthas and Wrath of Lich King, etc., was a thing. I remember that there was Scourge invasions all over Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor, and that was cool. Right, that was awesome. That was a cool thing.
What was cool about those, and I think this is still how WoW does it, is that you didn't need to have the expansion pre-order or anything to play in those events leading up to it.
No, absolutely not. No, you didn't need to. But you also got like a special achievement for taking part in the events, right?
Yeah.
Like if you got the achievement, if you got killed by Deathwing, there's a special achievement for getting killed by Deathwing, which is cool, right? If he flew over where you were and blew fire and death like amongst you, then you got achievement for that because it's cool. I died by the pre-thing event,
Yeah.
Copy says the Burning Crusade Collector's Edition pet still can't be bought, which is pretty cool.
So at least there's still a few things. Well, so that's what I'm saying. It seems like that there are things that Blizzard has done that still are unique to time frames and units where other games like League of Legends from Riot have not. And so I do give Blizzard credit for that because it allows things to feel special. And I think that's actually pretty damn cool. What else was said in the IRC as we've been chatting? Because all of a sudden I looked over and it went from nothing there to like, there's a conversation. It says, Copy believes I was correct about the traveling because she, as a druid, remembers having to take her alliance character over to Horde territory to participate sometimes. And, what was it? You can still be that still neutral Pandaria level by gathering herbs or metals. There is that person who still has done the thing where they've never left the neutral area, right? It was either Goblin or Panda. And got max max level without leaving the starting area because they never chose a faction.
Guy, yeah.
So that's still impressive in the craziest way. Oh, hey. Achievement earned 100 fish. Look at that.
Congrats.
What else? First poop quest. What? Congrats, you completed your first quest. Oh, Hando's comment. I'm not sure I know the reference. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's quite a few quests in the game where you have to go sift through or pick up poop. Like, I think in Burning Crusade, there's one of the most famous ones is caribou poop. You need to go find the berries in Nagrand, right?
Oh,
and there's another one actually in Hellfire Peninsula that also has you looking through hellhounds or whatever they're called, fellhound.
So fiery poops?
Poop. Yeah, there's just loads of different poop quests. It was just like a thing for a while. I don't know. I don't quite understand why.
That is ridiculous.
It's fun. I quite like it.
Yeah, it's fun sifting through poop. More of that.
It means nothing, right? It's just a game. I mean, it's just amusing. It's nice to have a quest that's a slightly. Well, I'd rather go sift through the poop and have a smile on my face, like laughing at it, than literally just go picking up berries off the ground. Because that's another thing you'll do quite frequently, right?
There are lots. Yeah, there are lots of collect type and retrieval quests throughout the game. I think that is for sure. But anyhow, so yeah. So far, I will say also in general that I have been enjoying playing. It's, I don't do it constantly, and it's not something that, like, back in the day where I was obsessed when I first played, I think most of us, where you could find yourself losing entire days playing the game. Mine's been much more relaxed. I did sub, and so I do have that feeling that I need to get my money's worth, but it's not, like, killing me. I've been playing other games still as well. It's something that I'm more just taking my time getting in and saying, all right, well, let me go hit a couple quests around here real quick, and I don't feel bad about logging out wherever. In fact, today I've done one full level so far, because I think when I logged this morning, I was, 30? I might have been 30. I got 31, or no, I was 31, got 32, and I'm all of like a bar and a half away from 33. And so I'm pretty sure I will be able to get a full level today as well. Let's see. What are things? I just saw an announcement somewhere saying that the Taran Chieftains will be playing in 5 minutes.
So it's on the hour. Okay, that's cool.
Is that how that works? Cool. Yeah, that should be the break. I should set myself.
Break, actually, it'll be bang on the break. Yeah.
I should set myself down in the stands here to watch the concert in game, and maybe I'll put that on during the break. Do we have? I don't think that we can do any of their music though, can we?
No, I don't think so, because that's going to be all. Yeah, we won't be able.
It'll be all copyright and such. But what I should do, you know, what I can do instead is maybe I should play some Brewmaster or a Brew Guy.
That'd be appropriate.
That way, you know, during it, and you'll see I'll put my screen on as the concert goes during the break, and
I like that idea.
So we'll mix that. So I'll start looking through. Oh gosh, come on! I will start finding a song while getting ready for the break. But yeah, those are some of my first kind of just some of my thoughts, I guess, or impressions of getting back into WoW so far, little bits at a time. And I'm enjoying it. It's not something that, like I said, I'm dying each day to get back into and jump on and play more of, but I have been enjoying it, and I've had a few people here and there note that I've been playing. Like one or two that have been like, wait, does your status say WoW? And so
maybe.
Yeah, perhaps. Oh, I could do the plug version. Yeah, I'll grab that one. Especially since I'm playing a rogue. All right. That one. Good. All right, now we're set for the break. What happens here? So I will time it together, and I'll switch it over to my feed on the game for when this starts. Although I don't know how long that concert will last in game, but the song that I'm playing will last 5 minutes. So, or just under. Okay. So that'll be good. But yeah, so been enjoying it. You know, I'm only running a handful of mods, and they're not ones that I think I see a bunch of. I'm doing Bag On, and I've got like the little Omen whatever mod and Danger Party one or something. A couple basic ones, but nothing too crazy. Because I didn't want to change the look and feel of anything. And it's funny because even with like the Bag On mod, I haven't done any of the ones that allow you to like change your whole UI. I haven't felt that need. And what else? I think that's like the main parts. I think WoW's done fine with their addition to the UI. Blizzard by default, where you can have the multiple bars and stuff around. I haven't felt the need to resize or change those.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, I quite like the default UI actually. I've tried other ones, but I quite like the look of it. I think it looks very fantasy.
So overall, like I said, it's been good. I will continue to play. Like I said, I'm trying to do it back and forth. Whenever we do a dungeon, one of the things that we've had is I've been asking somebody in the group to help explain to me why the heck we're there. And I think one of the ones, notably, Ken, you specifically comment is like, go get your quest, read the quest, there's your whatever, there's your story, that's your lore. It's like, come on, I actually want to know why
that is the lore.
Well, like, so when we went through Scarlet Monastery, one of the last ones we did, I kind of know about the Scarlet Crusade and Scarlet. There's so much pieces to it that I ended up going back to the channel on YouTube that I've gone for some of the lore to specifically hear the history of the Scarlet everything, because it's the Scarlet Crusade, the Scarlet. Because I forget they changed their names several times according to the lore.
Scarlet Monastery and Scarlet Halls are the two.
Well, those are locations, but the actual group that's part of it. Because as they
Scarlet Crusade and so on, yeah.
Well, when they went to Northrend, when they took up their area there, they did something else with it and called themselves a different version of Scarlet. But every time, it's funny because their story basically says they failed every step of the way and made horrible decisions and continue to get decimated yet keep trying as a group of fanatics. And I think one of the funnier things that the guy doing the lore said was his opinion was But what better way to prove that you're a bunch of fanatic, religious types than to go set up a camp in the heart of your enemy's territory? And then not even secure that and go ahead and start another camp even further along. And things like that. And it's just funny to hear those stories like, yep, that's pretty bad. All right, so it looks like, and I don't know if I'm in the right location for whatever, because where's the stage for the band or the group?
Oh, the most southwest you can go, really.
Oh, it is at the ETC? It says, the Taran Chieftains concert now begins. Oh, look at that. All right,
yeah, that's the beginning of that.
So I'm transitioning that over to that. With that, we are going to take a break, and we'll come back and finish up a little bit of our talk about, we'll continue and we'll talk about our geek, and then we will get into a little bit of news. So with that, feel free to watch as the game is showing. I'll be showing what's going on there, but we'll be playing a little bit of Brew Guy for you. So with that, you're listening to Show X on VTWProductions.com, and we'll be back right after this.
Send in your emails to showx@vtwproductions.com.
You gotta be really quiet. You see, I'm sneaking up on a night elf. I wouldn't want her to hear me. Would you? We're here on WoW Radio. You're listening to Blue Please with the band Total Biscuit. Thanks for letting me stop by and sing a little something special. I'm a level 60. You're a level 2. That's not gonna stop me from annihilating you. So everybody hates me, but you're envious inside. I know you wanna kill me, but you know I'll skin your hide, 'cause I'm the ganker, yeah, and I'm coming for you. 'Cause I'm the ganker, yeah, and I'm coming for you. That's right, oh yeah, the ganker, yeah, and I'm coming for you. I'm the ganker and I'm coming for you. And I'm coming for you. You know it. You love it. There's absolutely nothing that you can do except sit on down, crack a cold one. Here's verse 2. You better keep an eye out when you're in Ashenvale, 'cause the second that you see me, you'll start to scream and wail. You'll probably run pretty quickly, but my epic mount will fly. So do me a favor, tell the spirit healer hi, 'cause I'm the ganker, yeah, and I'm coming for you. Oh yeah, the ganker, yeah, and I'm coming for you. That's right. It's gonna be fine when I make you mine, and I'm gonna sneak up and cut your spine, 'cause I'm the ganker, and I'm coming for you. Oh yeah, baby, you know it. It's about time to send this baby home to bed. How about it? One more verse. Here we go. You're in the alliance, but I am in the horde. I hope you don't mind if I see fit to cut your spinal cord. Oh, yeah. The ganker, yeah, I'm coming for you. I'm the ganker, baby. I'm coming for you.
You're listening to ShowX on btwproductions.com.
Alrighty. Hey, everybody, and welcome back. So the concert in the game only lasted a couple minutes, as I note, and then the stage was clear. So Brew Guy's song went longer. But we're back in. All right, transitioning back to us, and there we go. So, let's see. Last word we had was Copy telling us that half of the feats of strength have been moved to the new Legacy tab. And so it looks like, as she says, thinking that things may be separated just for between vanilla WoW and what the expansions have for achievements and such, and titles and things. So, very cool. All right. So, with that, did we have anything else we were going into about WoW before we transition into talking about other things?
The only thing is you are roboting for me again, and no, I think that's everything. Actually, I think that's everything we talked about WoW-wise. Let me check Reddit. Actually, I kind of want to have a look at that and see this stuck out is worth bringing up on the show. Oops, so I just went to our own Reddit. That's not going to be helpful for WoW stuff. Okay, wow. If you are interested in looking at our own Reddit, go to reddit.com/r/showx. Feel free to post there. We're looking for more activity up there. So let me. Can I share my screen? Is that doable?
Yes, you can.
All right.
I have that thing. Let's see.
Okay. Do you see what I see?
Do you see what I... Yes.
Okay, and you're roboting again, weirdly. Okay, so this is the World of Warcraft subreddit that we're looking through. So there's a lot of memes. Here's one saying, when I'm leveling and I see that max level enemy rogue goes into stealth, but 10 seconds later I'm still alive. And I believe it's what's it, the old orc, I can't remember his name, saying, what is that rat up to? How to master paladin, somebody spamming Hearthstone with a bubble around them. That's good. That's an old joke. How to master prot warrior. It's a cooldown, trying to press the button that's on cooldown while being dead. Which is quite accurate for prot warrior because it really sucks right now. Okay, I'm trying to see if there's any actual newsworthy stuff.
Well, so while you're looking, explain to me that about why it's challenging right now being a tank in the new expansion, since I am still in the leveling.
I can't hear you.
Ah, man. It's saying that while you're looking for news, could you explain why it's hard to be a tank now in the new expansion?
So basically, they've made the game generally a lot harder, which is a good thing for leveling and stuff. I mean, you'll find right now you're saying that it's quite easy and quick to level up, but compared to Classic, it may be. But compared to the last 4 expansions, this is hard. This is harder than it's been in a long, long time. Everything got 100% HP boost and other boosts as well on top in terms of damage and such. So it used to be the case that you could put, in the past few expansions, you used to be able to pull 4 or 5 creeps and just by yourself take them all down. Now, if you get 2, you'll have to pop all your cooldowns, and you might be a struggle. If you get 4, you probably run. That's kind of the way it is. And with tanks, especially, they've been hit really hard. They're trying to change the way that aggro works. Previously, it was kind of the thing where if you use taunt, that not only made them attack you for a few seconds, but also just dumped you on top of the meter for threat, right? So you were the number 1 threat to that enemy from then on.
Okay.
You had to maintain it, right? But you were still already put up to the top. Now it's the case where taunt will make it attack you for a few seconds, but has negligible effect on the actual threat level. So you can make them attack you for a few seconds, but if you don't then manage to put yourself up there anyway, you can't maintain threat. So a lot of tanks are really struggling to keep threat in dungeons, especially mythic dungeons. So do you know much about mythic, by the way? Do you know much about what that is?
No.
So, mythic dungeons are effectively heroic, but a lot more heroic.
Okay, well, so give me a pace on that. What's heroic compared to a regular dungeon? What do you have to do to even open up heroic?
All right, so it's well, let me jump to in game here. So in game, you can actually see on this little tab here. If you press C, you can see your item level, right? Now my item level is 224, which is pretty crap. I mean, generally speaking, I think the rule is if you want to use the dungeon finder for heroics, you must be a minimum. I think it's 285. Or maybe, and then it goes to like 300, then it goes to 315 for different things. Like certain raids have item level requirements of 305 or something like that. However, if you want to do a heroic dungeon, it goes up again, and if you want to do a mythic dungeon, it goes up even further, and more so for specific. So mythic isn't just like a single thing; it's numbered. So you get, I think, numbered 1 to 15 or something. So mythic 1 is like double as hard as a heroic or so, or not really, no, not double, but it's a lot harder than a heroic. But it's really, really, really easy compared to Mythic 15, right?
Okay.
Mythic 15 is like harder than most raids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult. Like if you want to do Mythic 15 type thing, you have to be in a guild, really. Even though the dungeon finder's there, you can't really trust people to know all the tactics that well. So it's a way of people experiencing end game differently. Some people like to do the occasional heroic and not worry about item level too much. Other people want to have some challenge, and so they do like lower mythic levels, and so on. So I've still got some nice gear left over from the last expansion. I've got 2 legendaries on right now. Like I've got some pretty nice gear, but because I'm only level 114, and to be honest, item levels don't mean anything nowadays. It means that when I get to max level, I'm probably going to be under geared, even though even though I was really highly geared last expansion. This also means that I still struggle with normal mobs, even though I've got really relatively nice gear. I think I'm probably slightly ahead of the curve because having 2 legendaries really does help. Because it gives me extra bonus. It doesn't just, it's not just stats. It actually does extra stuff, these legendary items, which is nice. Like I take 15% reduced magic damage while I have Immolation Aura on.
Oh, nice.
That's insanely good, right?
Yeah.
Like that might be worth keeping on even at max level because 15% reduced damage is insane. So that's basically what Mythic is. Okay, so here's another thing on Reddit. 14 years have passed since the mortal race has stepped into this world. Though Legion has now been defeated, the tenuous hope of players to use glaives as weapons thunder once again.
Oh gosh!
And it's referring to in the last expansion, we got war glaives, and because Demon Hunters obviously came out in Legion, and I think there's like 5 different versions that you can get, and that's it. It's a real struggle to get the different war glaives that are out there. Whereas, back in Warcraft 3, you saw Spellbinders all walking around with them, and you saw some characters in Legion walking around with unique ones, and Huntresses and Night Elves used to have a unique one as well, and we don't see any of these in game, so it's kind of a joke that we still haven't really got many glaives yet.
Oh, that's crazy.
So this is something quite interesting, actually. This meme here, I don't know how you can see it on the screen.
It looks fine.
Okay, so this is a reference to obviously this is like what do you call those machines? Slot machines, right?
Yeah.
So it's a slot machine, and that's kind of what. So we're talking dungeons, right? Dungeons. Everybody knows what dungeon is. You get a group of people, you go together, and you kill some bosses and get some stuff.
Yes.
In the most recent expansion, there's a new type of content called an island expedition, and it's quite a neat concept actually. It's a really fun idea. I don't think it's been implemented well at all, but it's a really fun idea. Basically, you go queue up by going into the new city. If your alliance is cool to your eyes, and you go up to this mission table, like literally a physical table. You go up to it, you right click on it, and you hit queue up, and you can queue up in different levels again. So you can do normal, heroic, and I think mythic as well. And you get put into a group of 3 people. So it's kind of a smaller group-based experience. And instead of it being dungeon and very linear, it's an island that you explore, and you have to, in a set amount of time, gather a number of resources. So you need to collect 2,000 of this resource, let's just say. And you can do that by running around the island and mining stuff, or you can kill certain mobs, or you can kill rare mobs. And by default, you're against the enemy, either alliance or horde, depending on who you are. The enemy faction is also there. but for most people, it's not PvP. It's just AI, right? But they're still quite difficult to beat, actually. So they still require some challenge. And the only issue is that the loot tables are almost entirely random. They are so frustrating. So most people will go in and they'll do 12 of these island expeditions, get a bunch of this Azerite stuff, which is its own issue, and I won't go into. Basically, artifact power in the last expansion has been morphed into Azerite artifact power, which is just dumb and much worse than it was last expansion because it gives so much less flexibility and less options, and the upgrades it gives you are get this item increased by 5 item levels, as opposed to this spell does this new cool thing that has an obvious effect on your gameplay. So we can get into that another time as to why Azerite's terrible. But the island expeditions are really annoying because they have a lot of cool things in the tables, lots of really good items, lots of unique drops like mounts and pets and stuff, things people are really interested in. But the chances of getting them are extremely low, so you have to run hundreds of these things before you get anything. I mean anything. I've run, I think, about 25 of these things and never had a single item.
Oh.
So I think if it increases your chances depending on difficulty. So you have normal, you have heroic. I said mythic before, but I was wrong. I remember now. It's PvP. You can actually turn on PvP modes so that you're actually 3 versus 3. So if you're alliance, you're against 3 real horde players on the same island. And you can ignore each other completely and just race to get the most resources, or you can actually kill each other to try and prevent each other from getting resources, and then so on and so forth. And there's also a small reward for killing the enemy team. So it's a really fun and interesting thing. There's multiple different types of islands. Each island has a bunch of different mobs that spawn randomly, different events that happen on the islands randomly. For example, you might be on the island, and halfway through the time on the island, you might get attacked by a bunch of mantis or some other creature from Mists of Pandaria that you've not seen in a few expansions. Okay. They just rock up in a ship and attack the island, and it's fun. It's interesting. Or an earth elemental might appear, and then a sandstorm takes over the island, and you're like, oh wow, what's going on here? It's really fun and interesting. However, the reward system behind it is just absolutely trash. It's just terrible. So they say to themselves, how do we make this game how do we make this expansion last as long as possible? And it's like the executives decided, oh, we'll just make the chances of stuff dropping minimal, so that they have to play for months and years to get any progress. Whereas really, if people get ahead and finish the game early, that's like, okay, well, you put a lot of time in the game, and that's what happens. You finished what's available. But I think this is an artificial way of doing it. If you want to have more content, add more content. Don't add these virtual walls where you just need to play the same thing 1,000 more times than you normally would for the rest of the entire game to get some kind of outcome.
It's interesting because that's always been something I've critiqued essentially every MMO for doing, is kind of setting it up in a way that you're never going to truly feel like you've beaten the game, so we're going to give you things that just slow roll you the entire experience.
Yep.
Which has always bothered me. I'm going through, and now I'm having a challenge on the Alliance side a little bit, because as I've been going through the Night Elf quest line and in through Ashenvale, I'm doing the quest, but I'm not feeling the epic in it.
Yeah, I get that.
At least this quest line, I mean, you hear about corruption, and that's about it. But it doesn't really feel like it's building towards anything. And so I haven't...
Yeah, that's something that happens more with the later expansions, I would say. That's something you really feel more in TBC. You feel much more in Wrath, I would say.
Well, that's what I'll be curious to see, because I'm feeling not as attached to any of the areas. Sure, I'm helping all these people out with their little local stuff, but it doesn't really feel like I'm part of a major effort. And it's still, I'm going through the old leveling content, so it still has the connected dots feel of okay, I finished this area, it naturally tells me to go over here, then it tells me to go here, and eventually I'll get to the big city, and who knows what I'll do from there. And admittedly, I had that criticism on the Horde side as a rogue when I came from the Undead, and that at least on the Undead side, for whatever reason, that felt a little more attached to me. And again, I remember the Poison quest line going through at least up through Torn Mill. And then eventually it's skip, the next 40 levels, and it comes back in Wrath, or more than that. It's like, what happened? Oh, there's the Plague Doctor that finally comes in, who honestly I really want to cosplay.
That's a pretty cool idea, actually. I like the idea.
Every time I've seen pictures of him, I'm like, that is who I want to be. Anyhow, cool. Side note.
But basically, I don't mind this kind. I think I'm glad they're giving different experiences, not just adding more of the same. I think that's fantastic. I just really wish that they made it so that there's more rewards. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having certain rewards be grindy, like make it so that the loot tables are more accessible though, right? So make it so you occasionally get boring rewards, like less interesting rewards that you don't necessarily want that much, but at least it's something like gold or.
Well, I was going to say, one of the options would be...
item for when you're off specs, right?
Yeah.
Like, make it something that's kind of okay. But make, like, the really rare amount 0.1%. That's fine. I don't mind that. I don't mind if you have to do 1,000 of these things to get the amount. That's okay. That's fine. That's the one super rare thing. But making everything that rare means that it's not fun. There's no incentive. Right? It's basic carrot and stick right here. There's a lot of stick and there's no carrot.
Yeah, no, that's one of the problems with MMOs is you can have, like, in PvP experiences at least, that can be fun because you're playing against other people and therefore it randomizes your experience. It's what brings me as a gamer back to things like Call of Duty, League of Legends, stuff like that, where I'm doing smaller, just PvP experiences. I'm doing ARAMs. I'm doing, quick shots. Is why I was playing Rainbow Six this morning. And things like that. As officially, I guess we're going to kind of transition now as we're going into Geek Cred for us as well, as we're still talking WoW for the most part. But I get back to those experiences because I just want to play against people and do something that's a little different this time than it is every other time. The challenge when most of the content you're playing in a MMO is going to be PvE is that you're just going through somewhat the numbers, right? You're going through the steps are there. And so it's not like it's going to be different every time you get there. You never know. Or, I mean, you know exactly what it's going to be. At most, even if there is some kind of random number generator in there, there's only a handful. And so if it's not going to be fun based on just the randomness of the experience, and so that every time you go and do that same instance or whatever, it's going to be the same, then yes, I would want some other incentive to play it, to go through that same experience over and over again, versus just, like you said, this tiny carrot.
Change slightly. The islands do change. Like, you get different islands, you get different things spawning in the islands, and that does make it fun. Don't get me wrong, the actual content itself is fun, but if there's no reward in the game, it feels just like it's a grind again, even if the content changes. Like, at least leveling, you feel you're getting XP, even if you're not getting much else, right?
Yeah.
It has to be it's an RPG. It's an MMO RPG. Give them something.
What? You want people to roleplay?
Well, not RPGs come with leveling, right? They come with progression, and there's just none. There just isn't any progression.
That'll be a challenge I'll run into because whenever I do hit max level and get through the stories, I'll probably be done playing the game. Maybe before then, but we'll see. Because I don't see a need to just keep playing through the same experiences over and over.
Absolutely.
It's why when I first... go ahead.
New expansion does have a bunch of new interesting stuff, and so does Legion. I would actually say Legion is probably one of my favorite expansions of all time. So at least try and do the 100 to 110 content. It is fun.
Well, that's the thing.
Your class hall is awesome.
So I want to get this renewed experience with WoW at a little faster pace than previous, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see what this does. All right.
I have two more quick things to talk about in this section because Reddit's really got a lot of good content here. So I want to I'm not going to play the whole thing. Here's a video from a user known as Jonathan RL on Reddit. I'm going to play this video a little bit. Okay, so this is World PvP currently in the game. This is just an area where people are questing. People had their war mode turned on, and this is what it looked like. Apparently there was like 30 plus players on each side chasing each other down and having a proper like old school World PvP experience. They were in a raid together. There's people healing. There's shields going up all around. People are going around shooting each other. It just looks awesome fun. Like, how cool does that look? How old school is that?
So let's see. Which was this video called?
Called?
Yeah.
It's just... it's posted on Reddit as 30 plus players engaged in World PvP in Storm Song Valley. War mode indeed. Do you want me to give you a link to it?
Well, the reason I say is because I'm going to try to actually play this one via my screen so that it's going to be a little higher quality.
That's quite good, yep.
Versus through and through. So I think I grabbed the right one.
To be honest,
if nothing else, just another one. But this, so I'm grabbing one that's at least a higher quality since we're streaming through a stream of yours. But this way, feel free to go back on your side since I'm playing it on this one. And what's the other one that you were? It is interesting seeing this many people like run around just crushing and numbers dropping everywhere. One of the challenges I've run into since going as a rogue is finding myself in the middle of combat sometimes versus my target. I'm having to do a lot of the tab targeting and things because, you know, my character just gets lost in the mix since it's melee. At least watching it from a mage's, from a caster's perspective,
range is quite easy.
Yeah, caster, you can see what's going on, see all the numbers, this and that. When you're in it, it's like, I think the thing I'm attacking is right in front of me because it's still giving me my numbers. Yeah.
The last thing I wanted to show off was this post that says, it's by a Tater Dude, that says, the tabard of the Lightbringer just makes my tits turn into tiny suns. I thought that was very funny.
Oh gosh. That's funny. Okay. I will give that credit.
All right, that's everything.
All right. Oops, that is not what I was trying to do. There we go.
My video was off.
There we go. Now you're normal again. Hey, look at that. Cool. And transition. Wait. Oh no. Click back on you. Look at that hair of yours. All right. Now we're back. So, as we were talking about this, I think it is appropriate for us to at least give a little bit of a...
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek cred, level up!
To talk a little bit about our geek this week. Mostly because what I wanted to talk about this week, or at least get into, is as I was doing ninja stuff and things, I got new technology in the house again. I have... if I say it that way, it's leading and misleading. I was going to say, I have a new camera, but that's not exactly the way I was going to say it, because you would take that as like,
oh my god. Yeah.
So I won't do that. I will do it a little less so. What I got is that one of my accounts, essentially, my bank account, I have a credit card through it that I normally pay most of my bills for, but with it, the reason I use it is it gives me points. And the points eventually accrue up, and over the years, I've used them, surprisingly, for the same thing every time. And what I've gotten with my bank account points each couple years that they've gotten to a high enough level and that a new version has come out has been new GoPros. And
cool. That's fun.
Every one of my GoPros I've purchased has come from that account so far, which is silly. My old one that's actually upstairs, and then my Hero 5 Black that I have, which is the one that I've been shooting on for a while. Now, I don't do nearly enough videos with them, but they've allowed me to do some cool stuff here and there. Well, they just happened to, in the last, 2 weeks now, come out with this brand new Hero Black Model 7, which I just picked up. And what's neat and unique about this camera versus the previous ones is they specifically have improved the sensor so that they have motion. They have it so they have it, software based? It's not going to be hardware based, but stabilization, image stabilization, I want to say software based. And it is really good, like surprisingly good. And you can do it in every mode up just under, 4K? Like, you can't do the hyper smooth, they call it, in 4K, but every resolution below that, you can do the smoothing algorithm for it. And I was playing with it a little bit, just walking around and kind of turning it, and it looked like I was on a stabilized gimbal when I was just holding it. So that was pretty impressive.
That's impressive. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm actually tempted to hook it up to some of the mounts I have and like do something silly, put it on my car or something like that, just to kind of really see how smooth a video it might take. What it was nice is now that I have two nicer GoPros, because my old one's kind of a pain to work with anymore. When I shot the martial arts seminar that I went to this weekend, I actually used both of them, so I have two angles at it, and I was able to shoot them kind of modified. I didn't want to go in a super wide view, but I wanted enough to be able to see the entire mat so I could see everyone's training as well as the instructor. So I shot them in a wide format view that allowed it to look really good. And I will, I think, share a moment of it for the stream so that people can see that. Let me go find... I've had a few things. I also, like today, added a new hard drive to my server because I was running out of space for my photos. My 4 terabyte drive just for photos is getting full. And so I have added a 5 terabyte drive now for secondary photos. drive. Yeah. And I'm currently in the process of moving my biggest photo directory over between them. Something like, I don't know what you use, Ken, to organize your photos and do lightweight edits. Do you use Lightroom or something else?
I don't really use them to organize my photos, other than, and I wouldn't call them organized. I'm really bad, actually. I just delete everything that I've done with editing. I have no RAWs.
Oh, wow.
Which is really bad, I know. Well, if I had a wedding or whatever, I'd probably keep them, but I everything's hobbyist, so I don't keep them.
Oh gosh, that makes me clench a little bit on my own. like no, Ken, no, you don't do that, Ken. What are you thinking? But
well, I use Raw Therapy with 2 E's at the end. It's like a free version of Lightroom. Some parts of it has more complexity and it has a bit more customization, which is neat. Some of it doesn't, quite frankly. So there's ups and downs with it.
Okay. So I use Lightroom for the most part for my editing, and one of the things I'd learned through some tutorials in Lightroom is that they really are pushing for you to use Lightroom for your entire like your workflow and just managing all your content. And so one of the things I do is it links when you keep track of everything. In fact, one of the features I like that Lightroom's included that actually got me to finally move away from, I was still using, what was it, Google's photo thing, G Photo or something, whatever their...
Picasa?
Yeah, Picasa. I was using that.
I love Picasa. Picasa was great.
I enjoyed it. And one of the features I liked about Picasa better than almost any other photo editing or management thing was the face recognition and the ability to group people. I really loved that I could then have it go through photos, learn people's identities, and then just click on a person's name and find all the photos I've ever taken of that person. Really great for trying to find specific ones where it's like, I know I have a picture of this person somewhere. I know. And it takes some learning and it takes some edit and time to do it, but it does work. Well, they added that feature to Lightroom at some point. And
yeah, I know you can tag it with a lot of stuff now, a lot of information.
Yeah, there's a bunch of metadata stuff, anything like that. And so I've actually been starting to use that a little bit. And so now I don't have to feel like I have to go back to Picasa since Picasa is no longer supported. Even though I had old versions of it. Yeah, I hate when Google has a project that actually is wonderful, but they don't see enough value in it, so they just let it go. Because they do. They'll just kill things and say, like, no, we don't care about it. It's done. Yeah. And that was one of those, I really liked Picasa. In fact, it's one of those things, if they still had it, I wish they would have continued, because they're also working right now on the AI version of photo enhancing that they do on web, so that they can take the decimated version, so they can use a very small sized version and using algorithms allow it to portray it in full resolution to the user so it takes less bandwidth. I love that concept. God, let me use that in a desktop thing, right? And actually let me compress or store photos in a way like, I don't know, there's thoughts. But anyhow, so I'm currently, as I've done the upgrade to the new, added a new hard drive in the server today, I am moving, the one folder I'm mainly moving is my anime folder. It's basically a content folder for any photos I've taken at any geek convention, anime conventions, comic conventions, things like that, or shoots specifically around cosplay. All have been organized into my anime folder. And I was looking at that one, and that folder alone, I'm currently moving, it had something like 38,000 photos in it that are being moved over, and so it's been going for a couple hours now, as I'm using Lightroom to export it over to the other drive instead of just doing a straight like cut and paste. Reason being is that way it keeps all the links in Lightroom and the metadata and the tagging stuff of it, so that when I go back into it, it'll all still be attached to how Lightroom understands my organization. So I'm using the app to do it, or the process. It's probably taking 3 or 4 times longer than it would otherwise, but it's working, and so that makes me happy. So we'll see how this all turns out. But that's currently copying over.
That's categorizing and stuff is always very important. One of my things on my giant to-do list here is to do all my documentation in the house. Categorize that at some point. All the birth certificates and insurance.
Yeah. Yep.
All that crap.
Yeah. So yeah, so it's moving all that over right now, and so far it's working out pretty well. So I'm using Lightroom to move to the new content to kind of open up space, which has been a challenge. So what I'm going to show also real quick is the GoPro. So my GoPro Hero 7, I was shooting at 2.7K, I think is what it officially is called. And this is just a quick video. I'm not going to show too much because this is all like what we do ninjutsu-wise, and without context, people wouldn't really understand what we're demonstrating here and why the things that Dennis is showing are so key. because he was showing some really high-level things. But what's neat about it for those showing, and unfortunately I know, Ken, you can't see it at this point, but the angle that it showed at this wide allowed me to see like the entire mat and everyone on it for the most part, and so it was really good, and the quality is actually pretty decent, since I'm only showing it at the 1080p here. But what it's going to allow us to do is hopefully break out a smaller piece of it just for the training piece, if we need to, so that we can highlight what Dennis is showing. So yeah, I was really happy doing it. I did some cool stuff to mount it up on the wall. I took one of the GoPro mounts and attached it to this little stick where they have a wall where they hang things on pegs, and so I used one of the sticks that they hang pegs on, and I just hung the camera there, and so it worked out really well. So anyhow, so that's my new toy in the sense of my GoPro, and I can't wait to do more with that, because I think it'll be a really good time. See, what I really should show of these is all the times I got thrown around. I think that's so it's I was showing I was going back through it because I was again doing the tick up count on like how many times I got thrown on the mat, because in having that conversation with Dennis prior to actually doing the training, it got him comfortable with those of us that have been students of Ions for a while now as ukes, and so when he went to the actual training, I think he felt very comfortable calling on us to say, "I'm going to punch you now." And so he called on us quite a few times, and yeah, felt that.
Nice. It's good to know that their expectations of you are high because you must be talented. That's a good thing.
Well, what I will say is that I am. What? I don't know if my talent is that high so much as I fall down good. Put it that way.
I fall down good. Okay.
No, I should try to find one of these that just for everyone else's entertainment, because I'm sure people would love seeing me get thrown around. Because as I was showing Fork, she was just laughing. Yeah, here's an example. This one won't be as pretty for people because it's from one of the side camera angles before I figured out how to do the solution of putting the one on the wall. Oh gosh, it's one of the ones with the hidden punch. Yep, these are hidden punch ones. So essentially, even though Jay's head's in the way, what you end up seeing is that Dennis is showing ways to... Oh, he was showing how to draw a knife in a way that you can't see it. And how attacks would really come. But he likes doing these ones that are demonstrating on me. I'm bouncing forward a little bit. And then after me, he would demonstrate on Derek often because he likes his attacks as well. But there were a lot of opportunities to see me basically thrown to the mat, big slamming on the ground, and just like, yep, that was me. Anyhow, so new camera, new fun. Hopefully I'll get some cool videos out of that up. But yeah, so those are the things I've been mostly doing that have been geek this week. It's really been, the camera's been a big one. Gaming that we've talked about so far has been good. I need to get better at Rainbow Six. I have still ups and downs on that. I need to actually play through all the pseudo single player content on it, on the situation, so I can learn the various levels and get a little more comfortable targeting. Because I've had a few examples where I sat there and just was like spraying and praying all over the damn place. And then I see other people shoot me and it's like they have a laser sight that just looks and like, bink, you're dead. I need to get more like that. Also, I'm trying to decide, because at some point here I need to transition my rig back upstairs just in time to have like another Game Fest and move back down here, but so that I can use my 4K set again and play around with that. Let's see. Copy talked to us in the IRC again, or the chat, Twitch chat, saying Google on my phone is all, we uploaded your cat photos to your drive. As she likes to document the...
God, back up all those cat photos, man.
Yes, all of her...
What do we do with those?
Well, it's all of her, not her cat, the cats, neighbor cats that come visit. Yeah, she gets to document all those. Anyhow, so cool. That's pretty much what I have for Geek right now, and hopefully that'll lead to some other cool things. Other than, 3D printing wise, I finished my helmet one on the back table here is basically done. I'm just waiting to do actually a resin cast of a gem for the person who's taking it from me, because he was expecting just a printed gem from the model, but I actually am going to make a resin cast one, or commission Hyde to do one, because I think that'll be an extra little like ding that should make him happy. I also have printed a drift mask for my ex-wife's son for Halloween. And so I got that all together, although it's going to need some finishing to finish that up. I'll grab it real quick to show everybody. And the main reason that she asked me to do this one is because she tried to find masks for her son, and they were all too big. I'm a little worried this one might be as well, still a little larger, but it's small for my face. And so I'm hoping that once we add a little bit of padding on the inside of it, it'll work out. Challenge also is this is off one of my printers that has a slight bit of a ridge effect in it that as it prints up there's some texture to it, so I've been sanding it a little bit, but I don't think it'll truly smooth. Hoping that with a little bit of thick primer and then painting it, that it'll work out. Also, because of different types of white filament, one is a much brighter white than another, as well as a third color to get all the pieces. But challenges of 3D printing, and that's just the nature of it. But hopefully it works out for them, at which point everyone's happy, but we'll see. And this one just needs basically some holes, I think, drilled into it and some elastic set up to hold it on the back of the head, but hopefully that'll work out for him. I don't know how big he is these days. I'm afraid it might be a little large. If it is, I plan on reprinting it a little, I'll size it appropriately and then print it out again.
Well, it's not that time before Halloween, so that works out.
Yeah, but it is too big for me, or too little for me, for my massive head, but that's something else.
You just don't have a massive head. You've got a massive amount of hair up there, but you don't have a massive head.
That just hides how big my head really is. But anyhow. So yeah, that's what I've got. Let's see. Copy's saying also, if you want to do WoW cosplay at Anime North, you can add to list. Copy, I have enough anime projects coming up right now, cosplay projects, that adding another, especially because what I want to do for the WoW one is not going to be a small matter. I want to 3D print some cool stuff and make that face piece and make it amazing. And so I don't know when that one will come out. The nice thing is because all the expansion stuff already passed, so I don't feel like I have anything to deal with timeliness. I kind of feel like I can just do it whenever, and people will still get it. So, not ready to add any more to the list. But let's see.
Yet.
Yeah, not yet, no. Yikes. So, anyhow. All right, I think that's all I've got to talk about, at least geek-wise. Ken, did you have anything you wanted to bring up about what you've been doing?
Geek-wise, geez. One thing I suppose, I brought my guitar home. I suppose that's kind of geekery. It's been living in my office for about 2 years now.
Okay.
Because you're roboting again, by the way. Because my office has been getting less and less lonely, let's say. More and more people being. For a long while, I had my own office, and then I got asked to move into this larger office that was also empty, and I said okay. So I moved in there, and then I told somebody else is joining me, and that was fine. And then somebody else, and then the past week another person's now joined. So there's now 5 people in the office where it used to just be me. And I'm only a PhD student, so I don't deserve my own office. I haven't earned it, to be frank. So that's completely fair. However, if you have something to lose, whether you ever or not, you're still a little down about the fact you've lost it. So I do miss having my own office. It was like a mini home away from home in the sense that I could customize it the way I like. I could have candles on. I could play music. It was no problem.
Yeah.
I really can't hear you, by the way, with the robot. I can't hear you at all. Whereas now it's a case of I have a guitar, they're hoping I can play it once in a while, and I haven't touched it for weeks. And with a new person joining in, I was like, there's absolutely no chance of me ever getting to play. So I brought it home. Admittedly, I've only touched it, I think, twice since then, but I have been quite busy. But it's nice just to know that I can pick up my guitar and play it, even if that's all. So that's been nice.
Nice.
I had something else I wanted to bring up. I'm going on a helicopter ride. I should probably mention that. Kind of key. Yeah, so me and Ken were saying we have been doing over the summer. We did loads of things. We did quad biking. We did a lot of urban exploration. We did a lot of fun, cool things. But with life getting busier and such, we've been doing less and less stuff. And so we decided to look on Groupon for something that's out of the ordinary. And neither of us have ever been in a helicopter before, so we've booked a helicopter ride for 2.
Nice.
And there's with free champagne. However, I'll be driving, so it's double the free champagne for Kitten. So that's going to be that'll be an interesting thing. Also, she's terrified of heights. She is absolutely terrified. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
I was going to say,
me too. It's going to be hilarious.
I'm not a fan, and so no, thank you. Although I always have wanted to go on a helicopter ride, and so that
it's actually quite cheap. Like we only do. I think it's like £70 we spend for 2 people. That's not bad at all. I recommend it. There'll definitely be something nearby you can do.
I'll have to check. It's one of those things I've always wanted to check out because helicopters are a neat contraption to me. Although it's like, one of those things that is constantly going against physics of itself, and seems like it should just die.
Going against physics.
It is so on the edge of like it should not work, but it does. No, I'll put it like this: it aggressively and violently fights physics in order to do what it does.
No, it utilizes the mechanics of physics perfectly to do what it does.
In a violent, aggressive way.
Well, I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. That's something else interesting. I can't remember what it was. There's something else kind of cool that was geeky that I wanted to bring up. I'll have to think about it another time.
Okay. Cool.
I'll hopefully remember for next week. But yeah, that's everything. So, shall we do a quick bit of geek cred?
Sure, let us go ahead and get a little bit of
Technology, news, and more today on the Geekoscope.
So, Geekoscope-wise, what's been new and happening recently? Let me check my notes. And go ahead and start, Ken. What do you got for us?
Sure. Shout out, of course, to IGN, which might go get all these kind of articles, whether it should be or should not be. And we're always looking for new places. If you have any articles or anything you want to send in, you can do so to showx@VTrussians.com. So when I was looking through, I found a crap ton of Fortnite stuff. But I'm just not particularly interested. I have now installed it on my PC now, though, so now I can play with people on PC. But I just kind of got sick of the game, I just didn't really find it that particularly interesting.
Fortnite's definitely one that I never got into. Like we said, talked a little bit. I can do PUBG. I'm looking forward to the Call of Duty Battle Royale. I had fun with that, but for whatever reason, Fortnite just didn't do it for me. So yeah. I
should also mention, geek cred a little bit. I installed Overwatch and I played a game of it, and it was
dude. We should play some Overwatch.
Terrifying though. Yeah, I never realized how much I lag until I played.
We'll just have to find an East Coast server or something that's a little closer, but yes.
Yeah.
One piece of news, if for people who have or haven't been following, Telltale Games is no more.
Yeah.
I don't know if we brought this up at all, but Telltale Games, the makers of some of those, I guess you'd call kind of like modern choose-your-own-adventure type games, but in titles like The Walking Dead. What other ones did they have that were big? That was the main one I remember playing some of, or I have a couple of. But the makers behind the Telltale series of all these kind of story-based, choose-your-own-adventure type games is no more. And I didn't get the details on it, although let's see. It says that another article that came up about it, though, because people were worried about it, says that the Walking Dead series from Telltale will be finished by another company. And so
I thought it was likely to be finished. I didn't think it was I thought they offered to, but it hasn't been accepted or anything.
Oh, gotcha. Well, okay, so the one I'm reading right now, and this was posted, now granted in Kotaku, but from yesterday, says Skybound Games will complete Season 4 of Telltale's The Walking Dead, the company announced today. It says Skybound Games is part of the company behind the Walking Dead comics, which Telltale adaptation is based on. It says, quote, "We are so happy to announce that we've reached a deal with Telltale Games that will allow Skybound to continue The Walking Dead the final season." The company tweeted, so yesterday, promising more details to come. And it has a quote from the actual tweet that says that, so very cool. According to the statement from Skybound, the company will work with people from the original Walking Dead team to finish the series, and that Skybound will work with members of the original team to finish the story in a way the fans deserve. And earlier in the week, Kotaku reported that Telltale was in talks for the potential partner on the deal that would see another company hire some of its former employees to finish episodes 3 and 4 of the game's final season, both of which were already well into development according to sources. This appears to be the culmination of that effort, although many of the details surrounding it remain unclear. It says that the second episode of the episodic series is released on September 25th, but the fate of the last ones have been up in the air, and so we'll see when it happens, but that it looks like they are actually going to get at least the Walking Dead series finished.
Well, that's good. I certainly hope so, because the Walking Dead series is fantastic. It's something I keep meaning to get back to. I played the first season, and I touched on the second, and man, the first season alone was just so amazing. I said it before that when I played it, Kitten sat down to watch me play for 2 minutes to see what the game's all about before going off and doing something else. And we ended up sitting and completing the entire game together and just being absolutely amazed by it. It was just fascinating.
See, that's interesting because I started Walking Dead, but it was hard for me just because by myself, it being somewhat creepy at times, and just knowing the decisions kind of last, would make me like worry a bit much about what I was going to do.
I understand. I get it. That's funny though.
Well, and it's just I was kind of like, this decision, you could tell in some of them, like, yep, this is gonna suck later for somebody. Yeah. And almost right away, some of them were like the next scene. Oh, you screwed that person over. Why'd you do that? Because the little girl. I mean,
yeah, it's like the choice of. It's not. Yeah, it's very gray choice morality, isn't it?
Yes,
very,
and that sucks so bad. It's like, any of the times I tell people, like, oh, how do you feel about your life? You should go play this war of mine. Yeah. Are you
also a great game. It's another game that I played a good 2 hours of, and then I was like, man, I need to take a break. So
right? Oh gosh, you just at some point. Yeah, you have to, well, so I've played it on and off a few times. Every once in a while, I was like, all right, let's see if I can make it through the week. Because I still told the story the first time that in that one, the only time I ever succeeded is when everyone in my house died. But one person got so fed up with like how situation was, they ran out of the house and left. And so the rest of the time trying to survive, like the rest of the people were suffering for that, and eventually they all died. But the postmortem of the game was that the person who ran off survived. And so in some way, it was almost like I actually beat the game because it gave me a successful outcome. But I don't know how successful I felt.
Yeah. The game is ruthless. It really is. Okay, so for those who don't know, this War of Mine is a really great game where you play this war-ravaged area and a bunch of characters in it. And it's not as if you were playing in a war and you're not a soldier or anything. You are somebody who's just trying to survive in an area that has been ravaged by war. And that is a really, really difficult, tough thing. And you're trying to survive, trying you have food and water and some medical supplies, and you're trying to deal with ethical situations, raids, you're trying to decide whether you want to raid other people, and if and when you do, how you like do the ethical side of that. It's just, oh man, it's just it's a heartache. It's truly a heartache. So check out this War of Mine. It's on Steam if you're interested.
Yeah, it's one that I absolutely recommend as well. Although I can't speak to, because I've never tried it, the expansion that adds kids. Because that just seems like that'd be even worse, right?
That's a terrible idea. Why?
Oh, yep. That's a thing. Also, talking about the Telltale Games, Copy says that she really liked the Tales from the Borderlands because the world needs more Borderlands, and that's not one I ever checked out, but I did remember seeing stuff about. So interesting.
Never gone to Borderlands that much, so that instantly is unappealing to me. But considering how good the other stuff is, it must be good.
Well, yeah.
So I've got a couple articles. This one was 2018. Schedule has been released, which hints at a possible big thing for Diablo. So the Diablo panel is being held on Friday, November. On the official schedule, Diablo What's Next is slotted to be the first panel to take place in the main Mythic stage starting Friday at 12:30 PT. The discussion of the panel reads, join the Diablo team as they discuss what's in store for the Heroes of Sanctuary. Interestingly, this Diablo panel will be followed by What's Next panels for Watch, Hearthstone, WoW, and Heroes of the Storm. A StarCraft 2 What's Next panel is also set for the next day. Each What's Next panel is scheduled to last for 45 minutes. So it's not giving away anything for which one's going to be more or less or whatever. I mean, it could just be like, a remastering Diablo 2, which would still be awesome, but it wouldn't be Diablo 4 either.
Well, it's one of those things. I'm always skeptical about what is Blizzard going to do for new content. They just are so slow about it. And even then, when anything they release when it's first done, it's usually meh, and then they look at what all the competitors do, roll that in, and then eventually they get a solid game. And so,
oh yeah, I've always said that they are very good at making other people's games, but better.
yeah, just after the fact kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's bothered me a little bit. I still don't believe Blizzard deserves a convention that is more than a day. I really wish they would participate with other gaming events, because it's silly.
They have more than, it's not just WoW anymore, is it? You know,
Yes, but conventions I go to for gaming, things like PAX and things, that go around their E3 and stuff have hundreds of games to check out and be a part of for 3 days of content. Blizzard asking people to spend $200-something on a ticket for 2 days of content when they have like 4 or 5 games.
But also the virtual tickets, and I bet they make way.
Oh, they do well. I just don't think. I am unhappy that fans give them so much credit for it. That they should say, like, no, we're not going to go support this event unless you make it reasonable in price.
Well, thankfully, the rewards for the virtual ticket are pretty crap. You only get access to Warcraft Classic for a week. It's like, wait, we can play a game that we technically already own and don't have access to anymore. For how much money? It just seems ridiculous to me. I mean, yeah, of course you're not actually paying for you're not actually paying for access to Classic. You're paying for the access to the BlizzCon ticket, of course, so you can watch the live event. However, it's still. The reward should be worthy of a reward. Maybe get a Diablo 3 for free or something. At least do something like that.
But again, that's part of the challenge. That Blizzard, they're really good at eking out more money from people. But
that's for sure.
Grr. So anyhow, I am curious to know, like, who out there is planning on going to BlizzCon, because I still hear people get silly excited for it. And what are some of the things you're expecting to see? Because we just got the expansion for WoW, so I don't expect to see anything really major new from WoW. StarCraft 2, I haven't heard of anything on the horizon with that one. We're not going to get another Warcraft game. If they did announce like Warcraft 4, I would actually take interest and probably perk up.
I'd probably wet myself with happiness.
Warcraft 3. It would depend on how it's. I like what Copy puts in there specifically about first and last names for my WoW characters, please. There you go. They would, but it's going to cost you $20 for a name change.
That sounds insane. I would never want to have second characters, honestly. That just sounds like an utter pain in the butt for me.
For Copy, it's a matter of... Copy talks about a lot. It's about being able to bring characters and actually have first and last names, so it expands the number of names you can use and not have to get into numbers, letters, characters, and actually get names that are a little more meaningful. I could see the desire. But beyond that, I mean, what are they going to do? Hearthstone, we might have another expansive pack or game modes you can spend more money on. Fine. The other big one I guess they have is... I would actually be really curious to see if they talk a little bit about Call of Duty. Since that's part of their publisher, right? Well, that and Destiny, although I don't know if there's any new content for Destiny 2, but between the two, at least those are other companies. I could see why it would benefit them to have that kind of content also at the con, so it makes it a little more expansive and worthwhile. But I don't know. Heroes of the Storm, I've never cared about. I think it's just easy mode. But so yeah, I'm not. Is it coming up this weekend, or when is BlizzCon? I know it's soon.
It's soon. It's early November.
Oh, early November. So next month. Okay. Yeah. So, but still soon. So next month in Anaheim, 2-day convention that costs far too much money, but maybe it'll have a lot of cool stuff. I don't know. Admittedly, I go to convention.
Still feels new to me. It does. At the same time, it was 2012, so 6 years is a good enough time for a new version to be announced.
Well, they are. They're just going to talk about it on the Switch.
Yeah, they might do. Who knows? Or it might be a mini expansion, or who knows, right?
Who knows? So admittedly, I will continue to say that is one of my less concerning conventions because I don't think it has enough actual content. It was cool the one time we went in 2009, with Octail and Hordak when I went, and it was neat to see, but I was also kind of in the middle of hype. Now I just don't know, and so we'll see. Now I would be curious, and actually this is something because you talked about the virtual ticket, and one of the things that came to mind, not so much for the rewards and stuff, but just kind of watching some of the panels and such. Because of the things that people do with streaming these days, like Twitch, I wonder if there won't be any opportunities around somewhere on the net to watch some of the content without having to buy a virtual ticket. And so, because admittedly, I would almost do a watch along with fans. Like if we were all streaming it together, but not everybody having to pay for their own ticket, because I think that's ridiculous. But
so yeah, that'd be fun if we could all Well, that's what me and my buddies from high school used to do. We used to get together and we'd one of us would buy the ticket. We'd all chip in, and whoever paid for the ticket got all the rewards, right? So they'd pay a little bit more.
That makes
and
sense.
We'd all sit together all weekend and like drink and eat a lot of crap and have fun together. And that was always a blast. So if you have a bunch of real life friends to do it with, I think it's worthwhile. And it's something you don't get to experience. That's one of the unique things, to be fair, at BlizzCon that you don't get at other cons. It's this camaraderie with being able to do the virtual ticket together. That's pretty cool.
So yeah, I can see that, but we'll see what happens with it. Anyhow, it is time for us to call it as we run into the end of content here. With that happening, though, right now we are hanging out in the Dark Moon Fair, and so feel free to jump in there. I believe we'll probably try, if we get enough people together, to run a dungeon or two as we end the show now. So feel free to jump into that. And then I won't be able to play long because I got to go do wedding things like that. But I think that also opens me up to being available to do the show next week. I forget because I thought the wedding was going to be next week, so it caught me off guard. At some point, I do have to go get pretty though, so I won't be able to play long. But I do appreciate everyone for jumping in and listening to the show today, and thank you, Ken, for joining, being part of it. And please tell us, was it worthwhile? Did you enjoy hearing us talk about WoW today, since that's some of what we've been playing? I know it's old school for many of you, but it's something that I know a lot of people still love, and so I'd love to hear your thoughts. With that, also, make sure you check in on our Reddit. We have a link there that I need to jump on and do the music combination. I want to enjoy and build is it a Spotify playlist, or where's that playlist on?
So our playlist is on Spotify, but you can find it on our subreddit. So go to reddit.com/r/showx and you'll find it there. I believe we had a couple of randoms spam bots adding on some songs there, so ignore the ones that are clearly not gaming songs, but check out everything else. Also, if you're interested, the Dark Moon Rabbit has just spawned, which is apparently it spawns approximately every 32 hours.
Oh, so what do we gotta do?
It drops a really rare rabbit.
What do we gotta do? Where do we gotta go? All right, so with that, we're gonna kill the show so we can go kill a rabbit. Kill the wabbit, kill the wabbit. All right, we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Thank you very much. Ken, could you lead us out?
Sure thing. You can listen to ShowX on vetdubsproductions.com. You can find us all over the interwebs. You can find us on patreon.com/ to support us financially. You can find us on facebook.com, search for ShowX there, twitter.com/VTWShowX, twitter.com/DocDead, and twitter.com/GoX for the show, for Mr. Wayne and for myself. You can also find us by sending emails to showx@VTWRussians.com. Check out our subreddit, like I said twice already today, and all those things. And also check us out in game and WoW. Give us a shout. We are on the Moonguard server, and just see whoever's in the guild, Knights of the Raven, and whoever's online is going to be one of us. Either copy myself, Wayne, or whoever else is VT Dubs, Hando maybe. Thank you for having me on the show, sir. It's been much appreciated, and it's been good fun.
All right. With that, everyone, we'll catch you again next week. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye. See you next zombie.